All right. First things first, as usual. Today I want to talk about softening your voice. No, not how to soften how you actually speak, but with the words that you say and how you say them. And no, it's not pronunciation either. There are always multiple ways to say things, but there's also multiple choices to make with all of those options depending on the circumstances and what is or is not being said. At least that's what I was taught growing up, in a much simpler way. It's something I am extremely mindful of. Granted, it didn't help my people-pleasing back then, but through that pain, I learned a vital lesson. People don't always hear the intent behind your words, only their effect. First, I'll share an example, a professional one. I used to work at a call center years ago, and I was basically tech support for customers for their websites because we hosted them. We had about 4 total hosting services in our building, and we were in charge of helping all of them. There was an entire floor dedicated to this, so it wasn't a small team at all, thankfully. One day, I got a call from someone so irate in regard to their email being down, being unable to send or receive emails, no matter what he tried. But because I represented the company, they yelled and screamed thinking I wasn't smart enough to fix the problem. I was on the phone with them for 2 hours, and after getting help from someone, I was able to end the call. I didn't recall, pun intended, if we ended the call on good terms, but I do remember how it made me feel. Just like anyone who could probably remember how they felt being yelled at. It's a way our minds remember what happened, and it tries to avoid it and prevent it from happening again. Then another call came in a few weeks after, and they were also irate. Not as bad as the first one, but just as fiery. I was able to calm them down because I used a language that allowed them to speak what they had to say and not take it personally, and then appeal to their emotions, letting them get it out, saying, "I understand," or "I know how that feels." Always letting them know what I'm doing to fix the problem as we talked. The way I handled that call helped that person calm down because they felt heard. That's all they really want. They're panicking because if something is causing them to lose business, they have to fix it right away, and they don't feel better until they do. Because I responded that way, they calmed down and, to my surprise, actually apologized for their behavior, which started happening more and more ever since that first phone call. I learned to let them yell and scream to get it out, as long as it wasn't at me, and then we could move on. I could very well have cussed them out and then clicked the hang up button very easily. But I didn't. I wanted to help. But the way they were screaming at me and belittling me only made me fearful and unsure of what I should do to help because I had no idea how to calm him down. This person that called could have started calm and maybe even screamed and yelled prior to the phone call taking place to get a lot of that out beforehand so that they didn't take it out on someone who is literally only trying to help them. He could probably have said the same thing as he was saying to me, but with a nicer tone and a calmer attitude, and it might have come off as passive-aggressive, but it would have been a little easier to help him. I can feel the energy in someone's words and how they use their voice, just like anybody else. Most people can see the smaller details, but only if you really pay attention. It's all a part of communication. Softening your voice just means that you need to assess the conversation and determine the best approach quickly so that you minimize the chance of miscommunication. The way you say things and the words you choose have effects on people. In one of my YouTube videos, I forget which one it was, but I explained that words are like spells. You feel the effects, right? So words matter. The feelings associated with those words matter. So, for example, when you're on the phone and your kid comes up to you and you yell at them, they'll wonder what they did wrong when they came to you for help, saying, "Johnny, I'm on the phone. Go to your room." Or in that same scenario, you could say it softer and explain and take a deep breath what's happening and why right now is not a good time. I know it's a kid, but it's still an example worth mentioning. For example, Johnny, not right now, okay? I'm on the phone, but if you go to your room for a moment, I'll help you in just a few minutes, okay? Something like that. Or like even calmer. You could even try, Johnny, not right now, okay? I'm on the phone, but if you go to your room for a moment, I'll help you in just a minute, okay? Something like that. You know how soft that sounded versus, Johnny, I'm on the phone. Go to your room. Could be even worse than that, to be honest. Louder, more harsh, harder words that make your child feel terrible about themselves. You know, some people actually do that, which is very unfortunate. But the point is, do you see how different that is? All the different ways you can say the exact same thing and all of the feelings associated with those versions. You're saying the same thing, but being mindful of your tone and your word choice or lack thereof. The same thing can happen with one word. Well, it reminds me of the Witcher show from Netflix where Geralt says fuck in so many different ways and variations, and you can instantly tell why he's saying it just based on the tone of voice. It cracks me up. That's a good way to show like different variations to people through communication as well, through humor. Same thing with when someone says stop it or yes, no, or practically any other word ever created. You can treat it like acting but with real consequences. Like a real D&D campaign. You can find your inner cleric or paladin and choose the best option for the best case scenario, while protecting your own energy, your heart, and your mind, knowing you tried your best to keep the situation civil and calm. Don't let it get to your head, though. It's simply an analogy to think about as you communicate throughout your life. As a Baldur's Gate 3 fan, I thought it was especially fitting to use here as an example. Anywho, the point is that we have control over our emotions and our words, and we should direct them wisely. Remember the golden rule, and no, it's not the one Jafar says in Aladdin. Treat others the way you want to be treated. It won't go perfectly every time, because if the other person isn't able to function that way, or hasn't learned how to control those things, then all you can do is minimize damage and protect your own light, your own energy. In any case, it reminds me of the saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And it's especially true when it comes to our interactions, every moment of the day. That's something you have control over. Especially if you have learned to balance your emotions within yourself, mastered the seas of your mind, if you will, like a pirate sailing through a hurricane. So channel whatever archetype you find most helpful when communicating with people, and remember to choose your words and emotions wisely. You never know what someone is going through, so why not try and be kind? You might be the first person in a long time to treat them with kindness and possibly change someone's life without ever knowing it. But also remember, as always, to keep your mind and your heart open. Peace.